YouTube? We are back with a popular deck profile that y'all have been asking for. I'm joined today by the Jesmon King himself, Jorel. And he is here to break down his Jesmon list.
I wouldn't call it that popular, but you know.
I mean, y'all, people have been clamoring for it in the comment section. You've been cooking us with it too. It's definitely been scary, some of the things you've done to us. So, it is an interesting deck, you know, and I know a lot of people have wanted just to work for a while, and this definitely is some spiciness to it. So, thank you for hopping on.
Yeah.
But yeah, before we hop into the profile itself, just a couple of things. You know, check out our socials, which I will link in the video description down below. It'll have our Twitter, our Instagram, our Discord. So a lot of great ways to just interact with us, interact with our community, talk Digimon, and all that good stuff. And lastly, if you like our content, enjoy what you see, you want to support the handsome boys on the channel, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it. But without further ado, Jorel, take it away.
Sure. So as I will always preface any single deck profile I do, I am not a build crafter by any means. I am a net decker 100% through and through. So the first things first is, like, a lot of these ratios are going to be weird to people that haven't seen a Jest list before, and even those that have played Jest before. If you haven't seen any new lists from anything in Japan, these ratios are going to look very off to you, but I promise you, I've tried it. The deck works. You know, when it doesn't brick. So yeah, I mean, hopping right into it, most of the list is basically the same. It's just ratios are different. Eggs versus Akudomon, you're gaining your memory when you're swinging with your GX, simple as. Rookie lineup, you're looking at 4 BT-16 Huck. Gaining memory off the inheritable is just big ways to keep turn when you're going into your GX plays. The your turn effect on all three of, like, the BT-13 line doesn't really come up often, but when it is there, when you have like a second stack out, it's kind of nice, but not really doesn't come to play much. BT-6 is probably still one of the best searchers in the game, at least for Hawk. We know, you know, BT-16 Uko is now a thing, so but yeah, being able to search 5 pieces and grab 2 of them is still massive, and just helps you get your consistency down outside of Magna X and Seiken Mappa, which we'll get to later. The last 2 rookies I've gotten here, and to round out the 10 rookies, is ST12 Hawkmon. This is more of a tech choice. You can run BT6 Hawk, but as I've said in previous videos, or at least I'm pretty sure I said this in my other Just deck profile back, like, during BT-13, 14 regionals. I hate BT6 Hawk with a passion. That guy bottom decks way too many pieces. Never grabs a sister when you need it. So we're going for the ST12 Hawk. Purely for the +1k DP inheritable. I have playtested against Sunny and his Tyrant deck, and that deck can climb when they pour all the resources into a single stack, and it gets scary. So the DP buff from this Hawkmon is pretty helpful. Another tech choice you can run is the Security Hawkmon, which can come up, but you know, I think that's player preference at that point.
Yeah.
Same thing with another honorable mention is Solarmon, just for being able to stop reduction of play costs, which comes up against some decks, but not every deck. So that's just another thing to think about. If you're on Gotsumon, you're basically shutting down your own deck, so good luck with that. Moving on to the level 4s, we've got 4 BT-13 Huck. Again, same thing with the BT-13 Huck, or BT-13 Bao Huck. Same thing with the BT-13 Huck. The +1 memory off the inheritable is just where you want to be with that. So the ideal, like, first 2 lines is just, or first 2 levels is just the BT-13 line. And then the other 2 level 4s, which again ratios are weird, so we're only running 6 level 4s, is the ST12 Bao Huck. Same reasoning with the ST12 Huck. The +1k DP inheritable just for the Tyrant matchup, but can come up in some other things as well. Some people will still stick to the BT-6 Bauhawk just to be able to pop like floodgates on board, or like just pop little guys. Again, that's more or less player preference there as well.
Gotcha.
Level 5s, we've got 6 of them as well. This one, I've seen it go both ways. I've seen it go 4 BT-13 Savior Hawk, 4 BT-6 Savior Hawk, mix of both 3 and 3. Maybe still a Chimera or 2 in the list, but what I've opted to go for is 4 BT-6 Savior Hawkmon just for the unsuspend. You want to see that every single time, and then the BT-13 Savior Hawk as a backup.
Gotcha.
Basically, that's all it is. The when digivolving of the BT-6 Hawk can come up more often than not. But I feel like knowing when to hard evo in the back versus when to push out and evo into it is definitely like what makes or breaks some games.
Sure.
But yeah, the mega lineup, this is where it gets interesting because there's a lot of megas in this deck. So we've got 2 BT-13 Jess, which I've seen this be a little bit of a controversial topic. This could arguably be 2 Crimson Blazers for the deck, or like just 2 security bombs, something. I've personally liked it, just because it's, instead of the BT-6 Bauhawk, you're popping things just with one evo effect. So you're not reliant on having a sister on board to get the pop on the swing.
Gotcha.
But it hurts when they have a floodgate on board and you don't see this guy. So I don't know. I mean, I've liked it. But there's not really too much else to say. Jess X, same old bread and butter. 1 evo, you play sister out, or if you have a sister already on board, plus 2k, can attack on suspended Digimon until the end of the opponent's turn. So this is the main guy you're really going into. Having the BT-13 Jess underneath is kind of just a bonus for 4 checks when you're at GX. Speaking of GX, well, I forgot to mention, so BT-13 Jess is at a 2 of, and then Jess X is at a 3 of, and then your other 3 of is 3 GX. Because again, this is obviously your playmaker, your game ender, the big boss monster. Like TJ said in the match player video earlier this week, it's got every keyword under the sun: piercing, blocker, +1 check for every Royal Knight sources, tucks a Royal Knight underneath, activates its 1 digivolving effect, and then blitzes. Ideally, going into the next mega, you're going to want to tuck a Magna X underneath because you activate its 1 digivolving effect, which some people are slightly confused about still if they've never seen Jess before. When you activate the 1 digivolving effect from tucking Magna X, you have a Magna X in sources, so you do get the protections. You get the protection, you get the plus 3k, and you get the unsuspend, which is all huge, because that allows your GX to stick around, which is the biggest weakness that the deck had before, is that if you lose the stack, you're basically losing the game at that point. Moving on to the sister lineup, we've got 2 Sister Mont Blanc from the starter deck. Draw 2 is just the great consistency for the deck, sets up your sister in trash. Decoy can come up sometimes, especially if you don't see a Magna X in the stack when you go into your GX. Or when the protection's fallen off, it's not bad. Still doesn't protect against bounce or bottom decking, so deletion effects, yeah. 2 of each of these Sister Mont CLs, BT-6, BT-10, and the starter deck. BT-6, again, for the tire matchup, plus 2k, +1 memory on play. Very nice, and the plus 2k is all turns, so you're normally bigger when you have one on field. The starter deck CL, just to, again, more consistency for the deck. Again, sets up your trash, and gives your guy reboot, so after you blitz for the swing, you can just stand back up next turn and just have a massive blocker on board.
Sure.
And lastly, the BT-10 CL. This one can also make or break some plays, can enable some plays. Going into Jess X, dropping a BT-10 CL to be able to go into your GX, even if you do pass turn, is huge. And sometimes can help you keep turn with the 1 memory when you evo into a Royal Knight or a Huck. So
Gotcha.
the last card or last sister to round out all of them is one Blanc Awaken. I was kind of trying this as a tech choice. It hasn't done too bad so far, hasn't come up too often, so I don't know yet. This could be one Blocker Blanc, which I mean, I like Blocker Blanc, but my issue with it is that there's too many things that pop low levels, that pop low DP, and the second you get a Blocker Blanc on the field, that just paints a target on its back, and it's just deleted almost immediately every time for like little cost. So
Sure.
So yeah, the game plan here is just either you kill them or they kill you. So
Fair.
but GX, I feel like GX is enough of a deterrent on its own that when it's stood up as a blocker, like they're gonna have a hard time getting past that. So
Right. Most definitely.
yeah. And then lastly, the options here, we've got 2 red memory boost, which I mean, again, this is all like Japan list, so like I haven't found like too much issue with it. I think it works fine, even with the sisters in the deck. I think this is more for just, again, grabbing more pieces and at least having the bonus memory when you need to make your plays. For Master Disciple, this one again is a bread and butter of all Jesmon decks. It's just too good. Can chain into each other like I've done in so many videos. Yeah, just the reveal top 3 being able to grab a Royal Knight, which means it can grab itself, it can grab second Mappa, it can grab Magna X, which I don't know why you'd want to grab Magna X, but I mean, but it helps as well for a trash setup, and doing the same effect out of security is kind of nice.
Right.
Yeah. And then the last 2 cards of the deck is second Mappa. This could arguably also be your Chimera, but I've pivoted more towards second Mappa recently just because this adds more consistency to the deck. Like I said, you can grab it off Master Disciple, you cannot grab Chimera. And if you have the turn to go into a Chimera, you have the turn to just play a second Mappa. So
True.
yeah, so you get the restand, you get if you have a GX on board, you'll get the Windage Evolving, which allows you to tuck another Magna X to refresh the protection that way, since you don't get the all turns, or to just slide in maybe a Jess X or a BT-16 just to like help control board a little. So
Nice.
yeah.
I guess one question I had about the boosts is, what do you think about boosts, I guess, versus trainings? Because I guess sometimes, especially with how many non-red cards that you use, I can see like boosts for some people being like, well, if I bottom deck my stuff, it kind of sucks. But then I also see like with training, with how like somewhat like you're able to, like you said, you're able to string along different plays and combos with sisters and saviors and the inheritables. Like sometimes you don't really need the Digivolution reduction. So what are your thoughts on those 2?
I think I haven't tried training in this deck too much, but I can see the argument that because training initiates an Evo, it might be harder to just start plays from there.
Sure.
And you've already got reduction off the Master of the Disciples, and that's not restricting you to Evoing immediately when you pop it, so that's kind of nice. Because you could go, what is it? Oh god. You could go like BT-13 Savior effect. Like say you have a Jess already on board, you crack the Master Disciple, you go BT-13 Savior effect to play out the BT-10 seal, and then that Evo's reduced.
Sure.
Yeah, or you have like the 3 memory to go into Jess without wasting the Master Disciple, and then you crack it to go into your GX. But yeah, so I think having just the bonus 2 memory to just flat out gain, I think that probably helps more than training.
For sure. And how do you feel about your matchup against like decks like Nume or like Magna, which are probably like the top 2 that we're seeing at least thus far in the meta right now?
Magna, I've only played against Jose really, and that one kind of just ends up being a slugfest. You punch them, they punch you back. Who kills who first?
Sure.
Zubagon punch is painful.
Yeah.
Because they get their pseudo aggression from that, but I mean, they have 1 Magna on board, They can only, realistically, they can only block once if they're already suspended. That's where the BT-6 savior comes in, and that's where second mappa comes in. Ideally, you have more swings than they do blocks.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, you're bigger than them. They can only restand once. So it's when they get 2 Magnet X's on board, it's kind of iffy.
Sure.
But ideally, you should be able to just punch over them enough times.
Right. Okay, and that's fair.
Yeah.
How about Nume?
Nume, I honestly haven't played against too much.
Sure.
But I don't know. I feel like
I feel like it could be a bit rough in the sense that they can just go fast before you can get your stuff together. But you do have access to cards like BT-13 Jess. I know you talked about like Crimson as well. Like I feel like those cards are pretty decent counters to respond to any sort of clapback if they give you the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I remember, I think it was like right before BT-16 dropped that Jess topped one of the online regionals, and I was watching that dude's deck profile. Yeah, I was watching his deck profile. I'm like, the one of Jesmon, or I think he runs all Jesmon, and so does Zakuto, and Texan the Crimson Blaze, and that's a 7k Crimson Blaze, which at the time, Davis was running rampant, so that's like really good against Davis.
Sure.
But I can also see the argument that it does really well against the Newman matchup too. So
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, going off that profile, like the ratios were the exact same. Again, no BT-13 Jess, they teched in Crimson Blaze and they teched in GG. Other than that, the list was like 90% the same. Magna X wasn't out at the time, so he opted for Genku X, which is still a good card. But yeah, it's that he basically took the Japan list, adapted it to BT-15 meta, and just made it work. So
sure. Last question for you is, if you were not judging, are we Jesson at Peoria?
Oh yeah, 100%. This was the list I was planning on running. And I'm gonna coin this term on video now. Bricking is a game mechanic. Yeah, that is the one thing that Jess will always lose to, and that's bricking. Because sometimes you either don't see your sisters, you don't see your saviors, Magna X is hidden somewhere in the deck, GXs could be in security, like a number of different things could happen that you have no control over, and you kind of just have to accept that and move on.
Sure.
The other thing that Jess loses to is just like a bunch of blockers, because again, you only have so many restands, and if they have enough like just bodies to just, you know, toss at you, like yes, you have the piercing checks, but piercing can't win games. So
that's fair.
Yeah.
That is very fair.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the only thing that Jess really loses to right now is just bricking and then blockers. It's other than that, like if you see your pieces, like you've seen it in the previous videos, like 3 checks, 4 checks, swinging twice, 3 times in a turn. Sometimes I just flat out kill in the same turn. It's like, Jesus Christ, what is going on?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely scary when it pops off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that'll wrap it up for the deck profile for those of you watching. So thank you, Jorel, for hopping on and giving the quick rundown. Yep. Appreciate it.
If anyone runs this, because I'm pretty sure this video will be out before Illinois Regionals, if anyone's going and runs this list, please let me know. I will be there to cheer you on. I can't support you in judge calls, but I mean,
judge, chill.
Hey, listen. It's moral support. It's not judging support.
But yeah, on that note too, like this video should be going out probably like the week before regionals is popping off. So for any of you guys watching and planning on coming down to Peoria, feel free to find us. We'll be around. We're all gonna be there. So we'd love to see you, meet you guys for the first time, and kind of just chit chat. So hopefully we see you guys there. Thank you all for tuning in. And if once again, if you like this video and all the content that we got out here, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button. And I'll catch you on that flippy flip. Bye-bye.
See ya.